Miami fans, I'm guessing you needed that. That hit home, felt good. A lot of demons exercised in the fourth quarter and in overtime this past weekend against Clemson. So the Canes are in the win column in the ACC. They took down a team that they have not defeated in 4 tries going back to 2010 or 1956 at home. And they did it in comeback fashion with a backup quarterback on the field. So all odds against them, and they showed resiliency. Good signs, folks, for the Canes moving forward at 5-2. Hurricanes live right here at the Voice of College Football. Hit the like button before you get settled. Bring in a few friends, and we'll have a good time for the next 50 or 60 minutes here. Cam Underwood, of course, breaking things down for us from the State of the U. I've got to think down 10 in the fourth quarter to come back from that against that team, considering what's happened the last few weeks, and to get it done is a sweet way to see victory against Clemson.
I mean, any way to see victory against Clemson is a good way. I mean, honestly, from what we've endured since, the last time that we beat them in 2010. So, yeah, really, really a great job to stay the course by all parties, and I actually tweeted, so the drive after Miami went down 14-7, I said, this drive right here on offense is the ball game. And everybody said, nah. I said, this is the ball game. Because Emory Williams hadn't shown any propensity to go down the field. The field wasn't super tilted Clemson's way, but it was looking not great. And I believe Mario Cristobal had the same thought because of the way that he called that or allowed that to be called. You're going for it on fourth down multiple times on that drive. So you're going for third and get me half of it and make it manageable because we're going on fourth down from our side of the 50 and then a little bit further up the field. There was a desperation in the way that series was played. And ultimately, Miami did not score on that one, gave up the field goal afterwards to go down 17-7. And I said, man, and the 7 points was, one Brashard Smith run, basically. Well, not basically, totally. They got loose for 80. Did not feel great about that, honestly. It felt like, the slow demise of a boa constrictor or something. It was just solid verbal shout out to them. That was a crock potting. It had been 5 hours since we left the house. That pot roast is starting to get nice and tender. The potatoes in that crock pot that we just set on medium, it felt like it was about a wrap. And, good on Miami, man, just to come back that next drive, 9 minutes, 17 play, 82 yards for the touchdown. That was, the second or third throw over 5 yards of the game for Emory Williams to touchdown to Colby Young, and everything. It was just, it really spoke to how Mario wants to play. And the Texas A&M game was the first instance of a proof of concept win. That with the talent on the roster that he's accumulating, you can go toe-to-toe with one of the more talented rosters in America and win. That game pales in comparison to this Clemson game because this one looked the way Mario wants it to look. Because the first one, that was, okay, we're going to throw the ball over the place. They can't check us. They can't guard us. We're going up top. We're scoring 40-something. Hey, we're leaning on them in the second half, running the ball. And defensively, just, eating their lunch all day long. Do you know how many yards Clemson had in the fourth quarter? Because I know the answer.
38.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter. When they needed 3 and outs to get off the field, that last Clemson drive of regulation, 18 seconds. Incompletion. That was almost an incredible interception by Cam Kinchins, right? So 5 singular yards, like one hand worth of offensive yards in that fourth quarter. Defense turned it all the way up. He hadn't even gotten to the star of the day, Ruben Bain. My God. I mean, just unblockable. Left tackle, right tackle, guards. Go look up his whole entire game highlights. He's ragdolling dudes. He did a hump move that made people invoke the name of NFL Hall of Famer Reggie White as an 18-year-old freshman going up against a junior offensive tackle, said, "Yoink, bye. Get out my way." Right? If you don't want to move, then I'm respectfully going to relocate you and go do what I got to do. Right? That right there looked like what Mario Cristobal wants it to look like. And that's the difference between the Texas A&M game and this game. It was physicality on both sides of the ball. Clemson previously had, usurped Miami because Miami was the number 1 rush defense in the conference, gave up 200 and something to Carolina, fell down to number 3, and Clemson was only giving up 50-something yards a game. They ran for 211 against Clemson. Added about 40 yards to their season average. So now they're the 3rd best rush defense in the conference, but only held Clemson to 38 yards, Mark's previous number. And now Miami has the most impactful and stingy run defense in the conference. That's what Mario wants it to look like. And it was very frustrating not playing with a little bit more tempo when we got the ball back at the end of regular, because Miami got the ball back with like 1:02 left, right? After another 3 and out by Clemson in regulation. But you're really trusting a true freshman starting quarterback in Emory Williams to do what he did in only 2 occasions that game, which is to hit a throw in traffic when Clemson knew he was going to throw the ball. And there was like the one square in to Colby Young for a completion, and there was like another one of those, maybe the touchdown throw, but like there was precious few of those into traffic. And Mario said, no, we're not going to do that. But what the second half it showed him was Clemson ain't about that life. Like they're not as physical as we are. So if you get into a compacted game, 25 yards and in, now for the win, I feel very confident about my guy. And like I get the confidence after the fact, you know what I mean? But like I would have felt a lot better had Mario been able to just been like, hey, I think that we're more physical. We're going to overtime because they can't stop us on a 25-yard field. Good, got it. Don't worry about it. Boom. But yeah, it was a yeoman's performance, and to the point in overtime, before that 4th down play, the final play of the game, when Cade Klubnik decided that he didn't want to give the inside zone to Will Shipley and just, hope that everybody was going to crash to the inside and nobody would be out there. First of all, shout out to Corey Flagg. Played terribly at North Carolina to the point where he got benched for most of the, last part of that game and first part of this game. Comes out there and wins the Trent Harris Memorial Do Your Job Award. You know what I mean? And we talked about Trusty Trent not being the greatest athlete, but every week, what did he do? His job. Corey Flagg on that play, beautiful scrape exchange over the top at linebacker, did his job. He was right there. But before that play, Miami calls the timeout. And there are people in the press box like, yo, it got down to 7 or 6. Clemson might have had to go a little quicker than they wanted. And I said, look, the last time that Miami called a timeout before a play was that 3rd down, the last play of the previous drive in first overtime. And Lance Guidry dialed up a perfect package. I have confidence he's going to dial up the exact right thing coming out of this, has the play down, winning the ball game on defense right here. And people looked at me. I mean, people with credentials and names that in my section of the press box that I've been in for nay on a decade now, friends of mine in enough ways, right? Looked at me and turned around to because I sit in the third, there's 3 rows, with workspaces. Me and Brandon O'Doy and Brian London sit in the third row, so the final row, and there are people from the front row going, what? Who? Huh? I said, he just proved the last time that we did this on defense, he got it. We got it. Boom. As soon as Klubnik goes outside and 11 is there in perfect form, like, where are you going, buddy? I said, yeah, just like that, because you can't cheer in the press box. Literally just like that. And people, I said, and was it from when Colbert was hosting the Daily Show? I told you so. I told you so. It was me, and I did. But it was such a great game. It was a great effort. It was not perfect, but yeah, about halfway. I mean, when it was tied at 7 in the third quarter, that's when I really thought, hey, this is a game that's winnable. And it absolutely was. Credit to the team for rallying. Credit to them for playing their butts off. And I'm glad that they came off the sideline with as much joy as they did for the accomplishment that they had. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Nate Wiggins and everybody from Clemson who's crying, win with class, lose with class. Y'all ran the score up on Miami every fucking time for the last decade. 15, 17, 20, and 22. I remember the years, guys. Y'all ran up the score and scored in your last possession in all of those games. And we said, look, we couldn't stop it. Just like Jimmy Johnson said, hey, my backups want to play, right? Remember when Kelly Bryant got loose for 75 yards in the 58-0, right? Your backups want to play. Hey, if you got a problem with it, stop it. I said, cool. All right. But there's going to come a day when y'all aren't like that and we get a dub and we're going to celebrate. Oh, well, I mean, that's not going to happen, but if it did, like, and now y'all want to bitch and moan and complain about it? Nah, buddy, you can't have it both ways because y'all ran it up against Miami again, 178-30 over 4 games, right? That happened. So now when the shoe's on the other foot, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, right? It's good over here for me, though.
2 questions. One based on not your final point about the celebration and the angst on the other side, but about the previous football point about how Miami was the more physical team. The game went to overtime. So if Miami loses in overtime, you come away from that obviously disappointed because it's all about W's and L's, but more so because it sounds like you would have thought this game was stolen to a certain extent. Not like, not from an officiating standpoint, but just okay.
We can talk about that, but no, I mean, no. To your point, that it would have been a bitter pill to swallow. It would have definitely felt like sand slipping through our fingers. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that was a very gettable game. That was a very winnable game. And if we had not, then I mean, I would feel maybe a little bit the way that Clemson feels, like it, because I know they felt that was a winnable game. They were up 17-7.
Oh, you know what I mean? Overtime, sure,
exactly.
Anybody's
so
yeah,
right. I would be upset. I would be looking at the margins, the couple of plays here and there that might have changed the outcome. But I definitely would have felt like one got away, especially from the way that it looked in the second half. Absolutely.
Okay. Previous point to that, football point to that, you alluded to tempo and at times wanting to see tempo. Okay. You're a tempo guy. I take it. Let me size it up like this. Okay. I'm guessing that if Miami continues to progress, advance, starts to win championships, win big games, regardless of how that happens or how that looks, you're going to be fine with that. However, I'm coming up with 3 reasons why you may believe or want, desire a different style than Mario Cristobal is most likely going to deliver. One is that for a lot of people, most college football fans, I believe it's just flat out more entertaining. They just want to be entertained. So speed and space, it's just fast and fun, and people want offense and they want scoring. Number 2, you would think serve Miami based on the talent base in South Florida to play that style of football. And number 3, that is just the mode of football overall for most successful teams across the country over the past 5 to pushing 10 seasons.
Yeah, but honestly, it was really situational for me. Like, I completely understood going at a slower tempo. I mean, okay, so also filling in gaps in case you're listening. Tyler Van Dyke was injured, did not play a snap in this game. Went out super early for early outs to walk around and try some stuff. I went into the press box earlier than I normally do. It was almost 2 hours before kickoff. Because I wanted to see this. Now, I missed his first time out there because that's how early he went. It was basically like cane walk, like where they get off the bus and they walk through, you know, the band and the fans and everything. Went to the locker room and immediately went out. Like, it was 10 minutes from Kane's walk to when he was on the field. It was that early. Went out there, walked around everything, saw, video tweeted out that he was out there, and then nothing else. And the rest of the time, I just stayed with my eyes trained on the walkway and saying, is he going to come out even? He did not even return to the field for warm-ups, anything. It was literally Emory Williams, and Jakari Brown. So Emory Williams, true freshman, playing his 4th game, starting his 1st game. I understand why you're going to go a little slower. Make sure he has the play call. Make sure that he's able to communicate the play call, get everybody on the same page. Wasn't touched. Offensive lineman did not allow a sack, or I think it was only 2 pressures on the day. So great job there. You run the ball incredibly, like 4.5 times or more what Clemson had previously offered or, allowed in games and everything. Taking a couple timeouts on offense, say, whoa, hey, relax. It's okay. This is what we're doing. Building in a preponderance of screens into the pass game, because 24 for 33 tells the story, but not really, because there were a lot of horizontal passes. I understand, but it took a while for the speed to slow down, right? And say, okay, I can sit here and I can make that square and I can sit here and throw that over the top. There was a miscommunication on the interception. Should have been a post ball, but then he goes corner post corner, triple move or whatever, the receiver. But it's a mistake. It's a miscommunication. You're going to have those. And especially with the way that Miami ended up running the ball and everything. Again, I understand going a little bit slower. And in terms of plays per game, that's comparable with what we saw against Bethune. It was more than Temple, and it was slightly down from 76 to 71 from the Georgia Tech game the North Carolina game, and down from 83, the most plays we've run a couple weeks ago. So we're in a good tempo spot overall, especially with the yards per play that we're getting on offense. My issue personally was that final drive of regulation where you got like Emory Jones, that previous drives had been cooking. You're calling some stuff vertically or even in the intermediate game, and he's in rhythm, on time, bang, we're getting that, we're doing this. And he had multiple timeouts also. So I'm like, hey, man, we can try to get a little exotic, get this ball down the field, still got 2 timeouts, so the entire field is open for us to get down there. And maybe, I'm not playing for it, but if we have a long field goal attempt by a kicker who's made his last 9 in a row and has a leg where he can hit from 55, maybe you go for that and walk out of here right now, because Clemson's not stopping you. You know what I mean? So there, I wanted a little more aggression and not as much conservatism. But Cristobal is who he is. And then taking the viewpoint of, we're going to get into a late round fight. And it's like, which movie was that? Creed 2, where he went to Mexico and they did the fight with the 1 foot in the ring, in the little hula hoop, and that's all you could do? Wasn't no jabbing from the outside, not on the inside. Take that pain. We're gonna be in here nice and tight. And who can handle that mentally and physically can win. And Mario said, that's us. And I get it. But yeah, that last drive specifically, that's where I really wish we could have had a little bit more tempo. But otherwise, especially given being down to multiple players, Henry Parrish didn't play in this game. Mark Fletcher's still in a walking cast. He's out. You know what I mean? So 2 running backs. Don Chaney ends up leaving. So now you're down to A.J. Allen, who ostensibly is your 4th running back. You know what I mean? Freshman quarterback, you don't want to try to get him, hurt or anything, because then you had to go to Ja'Carri Brown, and who knows what would have happened then. Like, I understand a lot of the constructs of this game, but specifically that last minute and 5 or whatever it was, that last offensive possession of the 4th quarter, just a little bit more is what I would have wanted, but that's okay.
Was it known before this game and before this decision was made that Williams was truly the backup over Brown?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's played in 4 games. Ja'Carri Brown has yet to take a snap. And it is well known that, he's like a 3-year project because of his lack of consistent accuracy. So he was thrust into action way too early last year as a true freshman, has all the physical tools that you could want, 6'4.5", 230, and can throw the ball from here to, whatever, here to South Carolina and back, or here to back to his home in Georgia and back. But can you throttle down those RPMs? And like that throw that Emory Williams hit to convert that 3rd down to Colby Young in between 3 zone defenders waiting, because he goes, okay, he's not open as he breaks down that square in. And so where he's breaking down, he's not open. The first window, he's not open, but he's going to be open in the second window between those backers and in front of that safety. Dot on target. No way Ja'Carri Brown makes that throw. Absolutely not. So, yeah, but from everything that, it had been heard, there had been reports, unconfirmed because Mario would not talk about it. But yeah, like Emory Williams was working with the ones like all week. Like Tyler could barely walk. And again, shout out to Susan Miller-Degnan for asking the question on last week, Monday, having personally seen Tyler with his leg wrapped and everything. Mario was just so, Mario, like, he likes state media. He wants to have the propaganda be what he wants it to be. But, she's an intrepid reporter, veteran journalist, and asked the question. And I know, and having talked, I've known Susan for a long time. I've known Susan since I was working in Deerfield Beach High School. Her kids went to Deerfield Beach High School, and everything. And like, she's aware, people talk crap about her and everything, but she was right. And I tweeted it. I said, Susan was right, because he came out and, was very negative, Mario, on his first comments in response to her question on Monday. And then after the game, doubled down and said, well, I didn't lie to you because he was fine on Monday, but the issue flared up later in the week. Sure, fine, whatever. But like, yeah, it was a known thing that Emory was in front of Ja'Carri for sure.
And to accentuate your point about the line of scrimmage dominance, as you well know, without Parrish, 211 yards rushing, 5.6 per carry. Clemson, 34 rushes, 31 yards. That's less than a yard per carry. Take out Cade Klubnik, who is a threat to run. So this isn't all sack yardage, obviously, because it's 14 carries for a negative 27. Even take him out of the mix. Anybody in the country would be pleased with holding Will Shipley and Phil Moffitt at 20 carries for 58 yards.
Yeah. I mean, again, there was the one drive in the 3rd when Shipley got loose for 17. And that was it. That was really it. James Williams made an incredible play in the first overtime to get him on, in the second overtime to get him on the ground to give them 1st and goal, because like it was 3rd and 1 and he got through, and he's in the open field with one guy to make miss. and James Williams with an incredible game-winning tackle. I know it was on a conversion play, but there's plenty of times that we've seen Will Shipley one-on-one at the 11-yard line, whoop, whoop, break somebody's ankles, and he's high-stepping into the end zone, right? Didn't happen. And that was what started the series, on that fourth down, or, where the fourth down happened. So, man, it was, or maybe that was the first overtime. I think it was the first overtime because they all went the same way for both overtimes. But either way, just that was a game-winning play by James Williams. And really just had them shook. Like they couldn't do anything. Like apart from that 17-yard run, it was a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s, maybe from the Clemson run game. And, absent a couple shot passes to the tight end, Klubnik was only 50% passing, 18 for 34. Like, okay, basically, so it would have been 2 more passing attempts to be. So he's 1 completion over 50, or over 50%. So, this team really played hard. They performed well, and they figured things out, especially in covering Jake Browning's tool, because when they went 3-3-5 stack during the game, which Lance Gidry talked about on Monday, I was like, yeah, they're playing all these linebackers. They said, look, Browning's tool is tall Restrepo, as in second down and medium, third down, fourth down. He's throwing him the ball. So play trail with the guy over the top and figure it out. They hit the 1-seam pass for the touchdown on that coverage. Well, it was the trail, not without the safety over the top. They moved him somewhere else for the other touchdown. But after that, they said, KJ Cloyd, look, be physical, but be close with him. And we're going to do to him what every other team does to Restrepo, and take him away on third downs. And you look late in that game, that's exactly what happened. 1, 2, 3 and out. The last 3 and out was up the sideline. They had, a linebacker underneath and Kinchins over the top. There was the previous drive ended on a target to Browning's stool, which again, you had KJ Cloyd playing the trail with the safety over the top on the bracket. They figured it out, and really a great credit to them for doing so. And I made a promise to David Lake that I was going to leave it in the past. David Lake from Inside the U, who I also see up there in the press box. But I'm going to say it one more time, here and now only, and then I'm going to leave it. But this team is 1 play away from 6-1, and you know what play that is.
Falconer TRX, appreciate you being here as always. Thank you, man. And I think as we run through these super chats, and we appreciate everyone being here and your contributions keep us going here at the Voice of College Football and on the Miami channel. And this particular show that is now in episode number 350. All right, Falconer, wow. 350. Falconer TRX, I believe, has set us up with our next topic here. Did you notice any questionable calls?
This is a batting practice fastball. I love it. Let's hit a line drive. So there was uncalled intentional grounding against Cade Klubnik. That was 2 plays before the first touchdown to Browning's tool. And the referee said, oh, he's outside of the pocket. And I'm like, I'm going ballistic in the press box. I'm like, there's no way. He took a step to the right of the center, from the center offensive lineman who snapped in the ball. He went from here to here. There was no way he was outside of the outside of the pocket. Didn't review it, or made the call and said it was not reviewable. So just going on. And again, that was 2 plays before the first touchdown pass. Shenanigans. There was one that was called later that they congregated on. It was the exact same thing. The ball was snapped on the left hash. He's on the left hash, throwing the ball away the other way, but he's right there and getting pressure. I'm like, that's grounding. You got to call it. You know what I mean? So both of those. The other one that would have ended the game, that Miami would have then won in regulation if things had gone the way that they did. Cade Klubnik was tackled for a safety. And I know people are going to say forward progress and everything. Cade Klubnik was getting pressured by none other than Ruben Bain because they couldn't block Ruben Bain at all. He, of his own volition, his own independent locomotor action, decided, oh crap, I'm going to run. A thing that people can do. Have you ever seen a run go for negative yardage, Mark? Ever in any game ever?
Few times.
So you can go backwards, is my point. Cade Klubnik, of his own volition, own independent locomotor motion, goes backwards to try to get away from the big bad man who's chasing me, mommy, and gets tackled in the end zone, both knees and the ball, for safety. It's clear as fucking day. It's unbelievable that things like this continue to happen. It is clear. There is no video evidence anywhere ever that exists on the face of this earth that that play ended anywhere other than Cade Klubnik being tackled in the end zone on his own. And why do I say it's important? Of his own independent volition and locomotor action. Because Ruben Bain did not push him from outside the end zone into the end zone. Cade Klubnik went into the end zone by his own choice. This is like Dan Orlovsky for the Lions during the 0-16 season, by the way, stepping out of the back of the end zone for a safety against the Vikings. And all of a sudden, and it's happened a couple other times. Nobody pushed him. Jared Allen was just chasing him. He said, oh, God, I got to get away. That's what Cade Klubnik did. Again, independently of his own volition and locomotor action, he took his feet and set himself on a course through and into the end zone. There is no way you can miss that call. There's no way that you can spend 5.5 minutes reviewing it and then give Clemson the ball on the 1 yard line. What are you looking at? What? There's no possible way on God's green earth that was anything other than a safety. Now, and those 2 points would have put Miami up 19-17 going into this end stage thing. So we don't even go to overtime, right? So that's another week with the ACC coming out and having one of the worst calls. And again, I've said that these referees have collectively, if independently, been against Miami. There is no possible way that that was anything other than safety. And on top of that, Nate Wiggins, on an incompletion into the end zone, screamed at a Miami receiver from past the goal line all the way back across the 5 yard line, almost to the 10, in his face, talking noise. Look, it happens during football games. You get emotional. Yeah, you're going to talk that noise. Hey, I'm locked down, all that stuff. If he's wearing a Miami jersey, that's 15 yards from personal foul and a first down. 100%. The only reason it wasn't is because he's wearing a 2 of a Clemson jersey and not a 2 or a 5 or a whatever of a Miami jersey. It's unacceptable that one team is adjudicated one way and a team in the same stadium is adjudicated another way. It is unacceptable. So all of those things, the missed or uncalled intentional grounding, the first one, not the second one they called, the safety, and then things like Nate Wiggins talking shit all the way for 20-something yards, the referee being right there and following, hey, cut that out, hey, cut that out, hey, guys, stop, hey, guys, stop. Watch, the line judge or the whoever, I think is a back judge, is there and goes with him the entire way. And you can see the line judge, back judge say, yo, you should cut that out. Hey, maybe stop that. Hey, maybe stop that. You know a way to fucking make him stop it? Throw the goddamn flag. So, to answer TRS's question, yes, there were plenty of questionable calls. If you missed the rant, go watch the last 3 minutes again.
And if you watch a lot of football, and I believe I was watching football at the time, and I'm going to date myself when forward progress became a rule.
Mm-hmm.
To Cam's point, it is not that we are going to award forward progress for whatever you care to do, trying to juke people and make a big play, that you just automatically get it to whichever is your. It is for the times in which a defender will meet the ball carrier and force them back when the ball carrier is trying to move the football in a positive direction, but they are physically being forced and thrown backwards, that you give them the forward progress that they were attempting to gain rather than them running around and trying to avoid a tackle. No,
And I mean, look, y'all know I'm from Detroit. Y'all know I grew up in the 80s. You know that means every single week I was watching Barry Sanders. You know, including a playoff game in Lambeau where he had -1 yards rushing, I want to say, in like 94 or something like that. Look, I've seen the best running back ever get negative yards in the game. Sometimes he would go backwards. It'd be 1 yard, 2 yards, maybe be -5, maybe be -7. Why? Because I'm dancing around with this line, that wasn't the greatest, but they're doing zone blocking because I can find any hole and I can get through. And then bang, it's 65 yards. But there were those negative plays as well. Negative plays exist. They can happen. But to throw that out the window and then again adjudicate a play in a way that's just not in line with the sport that we're playing because of the name on the front of the jersey of the player, unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Okay, I can't argue with any of that. I was watching 3 games at the same time, and
Hey, when I'm right, I'm right, and this time I'm right. But I appreciate that.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I can't
you.
say one way or the other that I have an opinion on it.
Heard.
ACC ain't no fun when the U is on a run.
I mean, yeah, the Atlantic Coast Conference or the North Carolina Conference, yeah, but hopefully we will continue to have the kind of performance where we earn victory regardless of the other shenanigans. But even with these shenanigans, Miami still went out on the field and earned a victory, which, as we all know, is not easy, even when the game should be over. So, hey, we're going to continue pushing. Even this week against a moribund Virginia team that, hey, any given Saturday, because that 1-5 team looking like they're on the expressway to Quittsville goes into North Carolina and Chapel Hill and beats a team that, we haven't beaten. I mean, 3 times in the last decade? They go in there and they beat an undefeated number 10 North Carolina team. So
the first time that a 1-5 or worse team has defeated a top 10 team on the road since 1961.
Jeez. Yeah. But hey, credit to them. They went and did it. Again, absent the, million turnovers, I think, obviously Miami could have been more competitive in the game that they were. But hey, got to give credit for Virginia. Like, hey, by hook or by crook, by 1 point or a million, they found a way in a place that's been, and against a team that Miami has greatly struggled against, even like as evidenced by a fortnight ago, 2 weeks ago when we were up there. They followed through, and got the dub. So yeah, that Virginia team is coming down here to South Florida this weekend for homecoming at the U, and we will, they will see what is going on because I won't be there, actually.
You won't? Okay.
I got a big work event at the Secret Day Job, and I will be there from about 4:30 p.m. until it's done at 1 or 2 in the morning. So even with the noon kickoff, that was going to be a bridge too far for your boy to make. So yeah, I will be otherwise occupied for the majority, but we will still have plenty of great coverage from State of the U all the way through. Making his debut, pinch hitting for me on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the intrepid Mike Schiffman, longtime State of the U reader, now one of our contributors. So this is the first Good, Bad, and Ugly that I have not written in like 9.5 years, guys. Even when I've missed other games, I was like, I'll watch it on Sunday morning and get it to you guys later. I said, you know what? I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to it. So yeah, we're gonna give Mike a shot. He's very excited for that. That is our tentpole piece of commentary and analysis. So he's very excited. Craig T. Smith on game recap, and Mike Schiffman's still going to do the 3 stars as well. So we got plenty of guys there. Hey, Kappa Kane will be there for your photography needs. We'll have plenty of pictures. Justin DeTavio will have the day after film review and all the other things. Everything's going to be the same. So you're going to get everything. Just there's going to be a different byline on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly this week for the first time in a decade. So very excited to see what Mike does. Very excited to see what this team does. I would love to, for the first time in Mario Cristobal's tenure as Miami's head coach, I would love to talk next week and be bowl eligible. I would love that. But again, any given Saturday, a team can pop up as evidenced by Virginia last week. So I know that Miami is a massive favorite. I know it opened at 18.5 or 19, just like it did. Well, Carolina was 22. So against Virginia, and going in, Carolina was like a 3-point favorite on Miami. So it's basically about the same thing when you, the transitive value kind of a thing. So we'll see. But yeah, Miami does need to step up. And I would love it when I'm watching the very first part of the game before I'm going to the Secret Day Job event. I would love for Miami just to come out and punch them in the mouth. I would love that to happen again. I would love to see, a 10 or 17 nothing first quarter. Before I'm, heading out the door to do what I got to do. I would love to see that. I think that the talent disparity is there for that. But again, Miami does need to execute. But hopefully, we're starting to see, and I know it took a couple of weeks, but hopefully starting to see positive performance feed itself as things go along the way. Oh, and also negatively, I do have to mention my guy, Mark, Nigel Kelly is injured and out for the season. So, yeah, unfortunate series of events for the defensive end there. Wish him a safe and swift recovery. I believe it's a leg injury. But, yeah, that was announced on Monday that the Mario Cristobal presser that he's out. So, yeah, I guess he started to take a little bit of that step forward, but the injuries got the better of him. But, hopefully we'll get some other guys back and be able just to put Virginia away the way that they should be put away and move on and move forward.
They had lost something like 9 consecutive Power 5 games before that outing in Chapel Hill. I'm actually going to go back after we get off the air here, and I want to check out the extended highlights. I saw none of that game. I saw when it went final, and it was, every network was going to flash the final and show the game-winning play that there was a Virginia pass interception, diving interception on the final drive. That's all I saw, but I'd like to go back and see how they pulled that off. I guess we will transition into our recruiting portion of the show. Leroy, the Black Ninja Turtle, is saying here, are there any good defensive linemen left in the 24 class, or should we be looking to go real big in the 25 class?
Great question. It's a little bit of both. So where this comes from is Aiden Breland from Mater Dei in California, committed to Oregon recently, and Armando Blunt from Miami Central, formerly Fort Lauderdale Dillard, flipped to Florida State after having gone there for a couple of visits. And like I said, and like people told me I was off base with, but I know when I tell you something, I know something. I don't just make stuff up. But like I told you, had been on the table and likely since his freshman year at Dillard, Armando Blunt is reclassified to 2024. So he will be in this current year's class. Like I said. Anyways, in terms of linemen that are out there, you might have to look at some LJ McCray from Daytona Mainland also committed to the University of Florida last week as well. So if you're looking, that's like, the last couple of dudes that we've been after along the defensive line have gone elsewhere, or in one case flipped. So are there guys, like there are guys out there. I need to go to offers. So number one, don't think that like Miami cannot flip somebody from another school at defensive line, because they can. And also Miami did get a commitment from Booker Pickett Jr., whose father played at Miami as a 6'3", 6'4", 205, 210-ish edge rusher. So like we have some edge rushers in this class, but specifically like you're talking about interior linemen, right? So those guys are few and far between. But like if you look, Justin Scott whiffed on that. Aiden Breland whiffed on that. David Stone whiffed on that. Armando Blunt, they don't have him right now, is committed to Florida State. I don't know why, but whiffed on that. Cam Franklin from Mississippi whiffed on that. So it's like you're going to have to try to maybe make a late run at somebody or flip somebody. I think, you know, you have Artavius Jones from Bluntstown, who is committed and he's to play defensive tackle in this class. I think that that's a good get. But yeah, maybe you're going to have to look into the transfer portal. Now, we did get Jamil Burrows transferred from Alabama before the season. He's sitting out this year, so he'll have the rest of his eligibility moving forward. But in terms of high schools recruiting, you might need to look at the transfer portal for now, and then follow that up with going big in 25 in terms of point of attack, larger bodies on the defensive line. But yeah, we will see what happens. But as long as the coaching continues along the path that it is, I think that we can survive it. But like, again, all those names that I mentioned, Joe Salaveo, what are we doing, guy? You know, like, and his position is playing really well, but in terms of talent acquisition, which is what this staff was really brought here for, Joe's grade it would be a very ugly one if I were to give one.
Folks, we have a Discord link where you can talk college football, talk Miami all the time, 24/7, 365. You get that by being a YouTube member on the main channel or patreon.com/MarkRogersTV. You get my picks and you get Steve Merrill from Wager Talk, 17-4 against the spread. So that, again, that's being a YouTube member over on the main channel or on Patreon. So check that out. Is there anything else I wanted to hit up here tonight? I think I've hit everything that I wanted to touch on. No more questions or comments in the chat. I reached out to a Virginia 247 sports person who was en route, and they didn't know if they'd be able to make it. So I guess not.
Okay.
But
no, and I mean, hey, I'm fine with that, you know. Yeah, you know, hey, look, Miami, at least one thing I will say to wrap up is the losing streak stopped at 2. Now, hopefully, obviously, we back up last week's win, big win against Clemson, because that was a monkey off the back moment, because again, they had kicked our teeth in repeatedly. But hopefully, again, we back that up with another strong effort this weekend, earn victory, and continue to move forward. So, you know, and then after this, you got a couple games on the road before Senior Day, but a couple of big games. North Carolina State next week, and then on Veterans Day, November the 11th, that's the big one. Florida State up in Tallahassee. So, and also I love the fact that, like, just shutting people up, you know. And I love, you know, I know Bud Elliott, and I know that he does it for engagement, but like so is Miami just going to be mid and give a home run effort against Florida State? Same thing y'all did, been doing. Everybody knows on both sides, this game is not like the others. Y'all are not a championship, or have not been the championship caliber team for a long time. So there have been years when they were terrible and then gave their home run effort against us. So, I mean, like, first of all, miss me with that. And also, and I tweeted it out multiple times during the game, I know that people say that it's only 12 people that go to Miami games. I know that, you know, that they are, you know, kickback, max, relax, all cool, and like don't give a shit about football and everything, right? But every team that comes into Hard Rock Stadium has trouble communicating on third down and has to take timeouts because the play clock got down because they couldn't hear and couldn't communicate. It's weird. It's odd. It's interesting to your boy. And I know it is not, you know, the loudest stadium in the world. It's not Husky Stadium in Washington that's, you know, designed to keep all the sound in, that the 2000 Miami team, that's where they lost. And everybody said that, even my friend who was a male cheerleader and went out there for that game said, the loudest game I've been a part of. And he played basketball and football growing up in North Carolina, right? So he was like, man, I had never been in a stadium that was that kind of loud. I'm not saying that that's Miami every week, but everybody always wants to talk about it's no home field advantage. It's not tough to play there and da-da-da-da. But every single freaking week, other teams, when this fan base, small though it may be, turns the volume up to 12 on third down, all of a sudden the other team can't hear and calling timeouts. Make it make sense. because apparently that's artificial. Apparently there's nothing going on. Apparently it's just a light breeze with a couple birds chirping, but every single week the other team struggles to hear here. Interesting to me.
I'm going to support that comment on one hand, and I'm going to push back on it on another. The support would be, when you say a small fan base, that's a small in-person fan base. Of course, the fan base is mammoth. Point number two, I'm guessing that if you were a alum and fan of, pick your school, LSU, Clemson, wherever, where the stadium was full, that you would have fun with that as well.
Until I went there and I heard it. Until my team went there and couldn't communicate on third down, right? Or fourth down or something like that. Even in a game that other team might have won, right? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm not saying that there's no communication ever. I'm saying,
Sure.
hey, man, just real recognize real. That was maybe a little bit more of an atmosphere. They got a little bit more turned on money downs because they are good football fans. They pay attention. And it might only be 12 of them, but, 44,000 Miami fans, like loud people from South Florida, it gets loud in there. That's all I'm saying. So just put the disrespect to the side, right? And again, look at every single game because it's happened every single game. Opposing team calling a timeout because they can't hear and they can't communicate on a money down. It has happened. So just put some respect on the name of the fans who are in the stands, giving all that they can give, yelling, screaming, supporting this team through thick and thin. Because again, we don't got no fair weather fans. Because where has the weather been fair enough for all of a sudden for people to hop on the bandwagon and want to be like, oh, this championship level, those people are legal now. You know what I mean? Like championship level Miami team. Like, yeah, every last one of those people who like had sentient memories of those times can go wherever they want and purchase alcohol of their own volition with, you know what I mean? Like it's been a while. So I just want to, shout out to the fans, give the respect. And again, it's not all game, every single play as it is in some of these other places. So I'm not saying it's the loudest. I'm not saying it is the best atmosphere. I'm not saying it's the most turned or anything like that. But when it needs to get there, it gets there invariably. Trust.
You're focused on the impact. I think some people are focused on what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
But, hey, but again, even with what it looks like, the impact is there. So like, hey, maybe take a look at that. And remember, in the Texas A&M game, there was a penalty called on a play against Kiko Mawaganoa because the umpire and the center judge were blowing their whistles in the middle of the formation and nobody heard it. All I'm saying.
And I do have one quick question that I intended on asking when you were reviewing Emory Williams' performance.
Yeah.
Have you seen enough out of him that if there is normal progression, both this season, depending on how much he's allowed to play, and then into the off season, what an expected standard progression that what in the world that he would be a quarterback that you want to see be the starter next year?
He definitely has the inside track towards that. I mean, it's going to take a big last 150-meter kick for Ja'Cory Brown to like, if you're talking about like a 400-meter race, right? That last 150 meters, Ja'Cory Brown is going to have to sprint flat out to catch Emory Williams. I think that he's clearly more advanced as a passer with his accuracy. And that's the biggest thing because Ja'Cory Brown has all the athletic talent in the world. But, if he's not putting the ball where it needs to be, what good does that do anybody? So, I mean, at this point, yeah, I think that Emory Williams, hey, good on this staff for that eval. Coming out of high school last year, good on the development that we've already seen and the performance that we've already seen. He threw his first career touchdown last week. He also threw his first career interception. But going up against, a Clemson defense with, all-American type players, you had a couple of freshman defensive ends on there. You got some really good linebackers, Nate Wiggins at cornerback is a guy who's going to be an NFL draft pick. They threw the sink at him. I really liked what I saw. And yeah, that boosts my confidence moving forward. Now, do I need to see more from the vertical passing game with him? Yes. But in the moments when he flashed it, like, yeah. Oh, and there was a beautiful ball up the left sideline to Colby Young that he dropped that you cannot. I mean, I know that the targets were few and far between. Sometimes I know that it was just like, oh, like maybe this is one of the few plays that I can make. But your true freshman quarterback drops a dime from about 55. Dog, I don't care who's on you. And it hit both hands too. It wasn't even like he got his arms raked and dropped it. Hit both hands and he dropped that ball. Buddy, you gotta have that. You gotta have that. Like, that's a play where you show and step up for your quarterback. And again, you might not have had a million opportunities down the field. You got the one fade for a touchdown, and then had the other square in, had another one. And hey, honestly, I just named 4 opportunities that you had. Look, that's more than some guys get in the ball game, right? And you had more targets on top of that. But that one right there, and when he made that throw, I said, oh, okay. Because if that's in the bag, I can work with that. Colby, I just need that to get caught. But yeah, for a true freshman, for a guy who was playing high school ball this time last year, yeah, very, very pleased with where Emory Williams is, pleased with his athletic profile, because again, I think that he has enough arm strength to make enough throws. I'm not saying that he has the strongest arm in the world, but I think he can do everything in the construct of the offense that we need. Really a solid game manager, didn't have any false starts, didn't have any, really bad miscommunications where like the whole offense is doing one thing and he's doing another. There was the time of the miscommunication on the interception ball, but every now and then you're going to have those. But yeah, holistically, really pleased with where he is, really pleased with how he played and, guided this team to a victory against Clemson. And just the exuberant joy. There's, the replay of the Brashard Smith touchdown run or 80-yarder that was recovered by Jacoby George for a touchdown. You see Emory Williams as soon as Brashard, that safety came down and, had a bad run fit, but he's leaving and he's gone. So that safety comes down, breaks down, slips. Brashard is 2 steps past him. You see Emory, cheering in the background because he's like, oh my God, like, yeah, we got it. So just seeing that joy and everything. Absolutely. I do then think that Miami needs 1, maybe 2 in the transfer portal, though. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I just think that there needs to be still an increase in the level of overall talent in the room and the amount. Especially, because you had Jake Garcia leave, so now you only have 3, and then there's 2, and then, like Tyler, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, but like we will see how that breaks down, but I don't really see him having a spot here next year and everything. So we will see. Did I review the Zapruder film on the safety? I mean, I saw every one of them that came down and I saw it live with my own 2 eyes and called it a safety like it was before the end of the play or anything. So I watched every single version I saw, it was still a safety, but yeah, I don't know. If you got other ones, at me on Twitter at Underwood Sports with other angles, but every single angle was still a safety. But yeah.
Folks, you may want to check out these videos that we post on all the various team channels, including, of course, right here on the Miami channel with our guy, Steve Merrill from Wager Talk, because his math model said Miami was 3 points better than Clemson. So he was on it.
I mean, absolutely going into our, just with the touchdown and overtime being the difference. But that's this was, a knockout fight, man. This is a rock fight all the way through and close. So yeah, be sure that you check that out and everything. Be sure that you support the Canes. I know. But Cam, you're not going. I told you I got a work thing, and like respectfully, work pays the bills. So I got to go do that. But support this team. Go out there. And again, there's only 2 more weekends, 2 more Saturdays this regular season to do that at Hard Rock Stadium. You've got this weekend and then the weekend of the 18th of November. That's it, guys. So, I mean, we're over halfway through this season and everything. And I know it goes quickly, but yeah, 3 of the 4 in November are on the road. So if you want to go support this team, if this is a team that you love and everything, oh, and shout out to just a bunch of guys who support the show. We're down. I don't remember all their names, but I met like 5 or 10 dudes this last weekend tailgating. Hey, Cam Underwood, yeah. So like I talked to them, shook their hands and everything, went over their tailgate, had some really good food, some really strong drinks, things like that. But yeah, and from a bunch of different areas, but a bunch of people really support this show, me and you, Mark. So thank you to everybody. I'm so sorry that I forget your names, but there were so many of you that I met that they kind of all went together. But, so that's a blessing and a curse. Blessing that I met all you guys. Curse for me that I don't remember your names. I will write them down next time. But again, it was my honor and privilege to meet you guys. Thank you so much for listening and supporting. So, whether it's here, whether it's stateoftheu.com, whether it's on any social at the State of the U, whether it's Underwood Sports on Twitter, all those places, please continue to support. Please come on over and fan with us. Please keep watching, hit the like, hit the notification bell, subscribe, all those things. But I really, really, really appreciate you guys. Everybody, thank you.
That reminds me that I should make it down sometime to go to a Miami game in person. Number one. Number two, I had 2 people hit me up this week, and so I forgot all about that. But based on what Cam just said, they were needing some instruction on how to operate these super chats. So we will go through that tutorial for all of you next week. We want to make sure everyone knows how to contribute. So I do appreciate a couple people asking about that. Cam, appreciate you. Enjoy, I guess, the replay of the game afterwards, but I appreciate you, and we all do, and hopefully everyone out there does, because Cam delivers. That's all there is to it. So Cam, appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thanks. Thanks you guys for having me, Mark. See you guys soon. Go Canes.